This is the MyTrek demo for Android. So the first thing we do is we open up the MyTrek app and it finds your location. You'll notice the red circle and then eventually turn blue. That's your accuracy indicator. When it's red, it's indicating that it's not very accurate. When it turns blue, that means it's accurate enough for the app to work. So I'll explain the screen first. In your upper left corner, right here, you see a spinning icon. That's the location indicator. When it has a good fix on your location, it starts spinning. When it doesn't have a good location fix, there's a little blue ring that'll spin around it, and that'll just tell you it's searching for your location. On the top, you have your information and control bar. On your left is your speed traveling. On your right is your miles you've traveled. In the center is your trip toggle button. That's the button you press to start logging or to stop logging a trip. So the first thing you do when you open up the app is you want to open up the menu for your first time when you open up the app. Then you go to settings and you want to enter in your first name. That's the name that'll get used in text messages sent from the app or for logging purposes. You want to pick an email address to associate your MyTrek account with. What that does is it generates an account number according to the email address you pick. It doesn't use your email address for anything else but to generate an account number. And then you want to select when you want it to back up your app data. So you can select to back up your app data after every trip, at the start, or when you start the app, or when you close the app, or just manually. If you do it after every trip, what it does is it uploads your trip. It uploads your new trip data every time to the internet. If you do it when you close the app and when you start the app, it'll update all of your trip data every time you open the app or every time you close the app, whatever you select. Or if you select manual, you can manually do it. Now, if you're a Lyft, Uber, or Sidecar driver, you'll have some options down here under the service driver menu. And you will have to check this box here, and then you'll have these options here to enter in your Uber, Lyft, or Sidecar phone number. When you're a Uber, Lyft, or Sidecar driver, you're issued a phone number that's associated with your Uber, Lyft, or Sidecar account. And that's used to contact your passengers so your passengers can contact you. Now, you can enter that phone number in here, and that'll save that and use that for sending text messages through using the side launcher, which I'll show you later. The very bottom, you have your SMS preset messages menu. Your first option says to automatically send the SMS. So what this does is it'll automatically send the message after you select a SMS message preset from the side launcher. And I'll show you that later. If this box isn't checked, it'll just fill in all the blanks for the text message, and it'll open up that text message in your default text message app, and then you can choose to send it from there automatically. Now, you'll also see that it shows custom messages. You have 3 custom messages you can enter in here, which will be used for text message presets. Now, you can see I have one that says, "I'm on my way home," and then there's 2 that I didn't fill in that just say your custom message. You can change those to be whatever you want. Or, you can change those to be whatever you want, so you can have 3 custom messages. Okay, so let's get started here. Let's show you how this works. The first thing I'll show you is the side launcher. This little side launcher here, this little floating bar, will float over any app you have on your phone. You can see it's floating over my home screen here. And I can bring back the MyTrek app and I can toggle between apps just that easily. So say I'm in MyTrek right now, I want to open up Google Maps. I just press on the Google Maps button and it does that. I want to switch back to MyTrek, I can do that. Say I want to open up the Lyft app, I can do that, and it'll stay on top of that. Now, if I want to see behind it, all I have to do is kind of long press on this green arrow button at the very bottom, and that'll make it transparent. And then all I have to do is touch it, and it'll bring it back again. I'll go back to MyTrek. And it'll be the same for the Uber driver app. If you're an Uber driver, you have the Uber driver app on your phone. And I can switch between the two just that simply. So if I'm in driver mode on both and I get a call on one, I can switch back to the Lyft app and switch out of driver mode real easily. If you're a sidecar driver, you'll also get a sidecar button. I'm not a sidecar driver, so I don't have that button displaying on my phone, but if you are, you will get that button as well. Now, if I want to send a text message, I press on this little text message button here. Oop. Press on the text message button, and it'll give me the text message menu. Now, if I want to make any of these buttons disappear, all I have to do is long press on them, and you can see they'll disappear. And that's just to shorten up the menu, say you don't use all those buttons. Now, if I want to bring them back, all I have to do is reopen up the side launcher. Okay, so now back to the text message options. Now say I want to send a text message to my Lyft passenger. I just press on the Lyft button, and I can select from one of these text messages here. Now there's all different options in here. Here's that custom message I showed you earlier. And I'll just hit cancel so we can go back to our text message menu. Now what that does is after I select one of these options, it's going to open up the text message app. It's going to have all the blanks filled in with the Lyft phone number, the Lyft passenger phone number, whatever message I select, and it'll be all ready to send. All I'll have to do is press the send button. If I had that automatically send SMS option checked, it wouldn't go to the text message app. It would automatically just send the message. And it'll be the same if I press on the Uber button. It'll go to my Uber passenger. Or if I just want to send a text message to anybody, I can select one of these messages. It'll open up my text message app with a list of my contacts, and then I can just select the contact and it'll fill in the rest of the blanks, and I just hit the send button. So I'll close that. And here's the phone button. Same thing here. If I want to call my Lyft passenger, I just press on the Lyft button, it'll automatically dial it. If I just want to call anybody, I can just press the phone button again here in this menu, and it'll automatically open up my phone dialer, and I can select from the contacts there. Now, if you have Waze or Google Maps installed on your phone, you'll have a Google Maps button. Oops, I long pressed it. Or a Waves button. If you don't have Waze or Google Maps, you won't have those buttons. But if you have them on your phone, they'll automatically pop up on the side launcher. So you can see how that works. The red X button, you've seen that work. I just press it, and that makes the side launcher disappear. Now we can go into trip history, and we can view all the trips I've taken with MyTrek so far. Now this is just for demonstration. I took one trip earlier. It was 18.8 miles, and you can see the data here. I started driving on May 10th. It shows the time, the distance I traveled, the duration of the trip, 22 minutes and 23 seconds, and how many points were plotted on the trip. So every 30 feet or so, it'll plot a point, and it was about 228 points it plotted for that trip. Now I can upload it to the web by pressing that button, and I'll get a little notification in the top here. It says it was uploaded. I can share it on Facebook by pressing the share button, or any of these other apps that you have on your phone that allow sharing. or I can delete the trip by pressing the trash can button, or I can just replay it just by pressing anywhere on the card, and it'll replay the trip. Now, this trip is kind of long. It is a 22-minute trip, but the whole time it's traveling, you can see the path I took. What it's doing is it's drawing a line in between each point that it plotted, and it's traveling my trip. This will only take a minute or two to show, so I'll continue to show the trip. And you can see exactly where it all goes. And you can see that it's following the road real closely. That's how accurate the GPS is. And that's where my trip ended. Now you can see where it started. I can zoom in and out of the map just by pinching the zoom. You can see where my trips started and where it ended. If I click on that little marker icon right there, the M on top of the car, it'll tell you all the trip data right here, where it started, where it stopped, all that good information. Now say I want to zoom back to my location where I'm at, I just press on that location button and it'll do that. Now I can clear the map and that'll erase it'll erase that trip line that it just drew and all that stuff. And you can see my location right there is a red circle right now because the GPS data it's getting isn't very accurate. So that's how that works. Now when I want to start a trip, say I get a call from my passenger or whatever, or I want to log a road trip I'm taking, I'm going to the Grand Canyon, I press this center button right here. When you're in an active trip, it starts spinning. Okay, so we'll take a little drive here just to see how this logging works. I'm pulling out of the Menards parking lot here in West Dallas. And we'll see how this trip logger works. As it's moving, you'll see the little car icon move around. There's a little number 1 on the car. That number 1 indicates how many trips you've taken today. So far today, I've just taken the 1 trip, and that's the one I'm driving on right now. So we'll just drive a little bit. We'll go like a city block or something just so we can see that how this is going to work. And what we'll do, we'll just drive down this block here. And then we'll replay the trip again. And I'll show you how it shows in the trip history as well. This is just going to be a short trip, like I said. And you can see as we're moving, the points are changing. The car is moving around. And get across South 108th Street here. It's kind of a busy road. Once I get across, I'll stop the trip and then we can see it actually, what it looks like. And while I'm on the trip, I can press on the car icon and it'll give me my current trip data. So it's logged 7 points. I've gone 0.2 miles, which is what my odometer says in my car. It says 0.19 in the app. I think my odometer rounds up. And the app is just a little more precise. And that's all using GPS data. That's all it uses to find me. So I'm across South 108th Street. Now every time it plots a point, it's going to put a green circle on the map, and that's that green circle you see. The red circle means it's not very accurate, or it's not within the accuracy window. The blue circle means it's in the accuracy window. So now you can see that we got a green circle that plotted that point. We plotted nine points. You can see our little trip button spinning up here. I can press on that. It'll end the trip. It'll tell me all my trip data. And then it'll also show up in the trip history. You can see I have one more trip now. This is the trip we just took. If I press on that, it'll replay the trip. We can zoom out and we can see that's the path we drove. It's pretty accurate. So that's how MyTrek works, and hope you enjoy it. When you're done using MyTrek, oh, there's one more option I can show you, the stats. Your driving stats are under My Stats, okay? So under this menu, it'll tell you all your trip counts, the mileage you've driven on a trip, and the amount of time you've driven on trips. So you can see I've taken 16 trips. Today I've only taken one trip. This week I've taken one trip. This month I've taken 10. This year I've taken 16. And you can see the miles I've driven. And this is just on my demonstration account, so it doesn't show everything. But you can see how that works. And that's all your stats that you need. And then here's the manual backup. So this will automatically back up all my trips to the internet. And you can see updated or uploading completed. It'll pop up a little notification when it's done uploading. So that's it for that. That's the MyTrek app. When you're done using MyTrek, you can just go to the menu and select exit. If you don't, it keeps running in the background, and you'll get a notification that'll stay persistent in the top. You can see MyTrek using location services. You'll have that little MyTrek icon in the top. If you want to bring MyTrek back up, you just click on that notification. It'll pop you back up, and then you can exit or do whatever you want. So that's how the MyTrek app works. And I hope you enjoy it.